Chapter 36. With none of them proving to be a threat, save Kanyu, they all gather around a large banquet table near the far end. The dwarf, who blew up following the announcement of the orc's kinship with Huon, snores soundly thanks to a spell the Amazonian placed on him. His face rests peacefully on the table. Kisra breathes a sigh of disbelief. "I cannot believe you are siblings." Her voice is more relaxed, but Saehan's words still cut into the reality they wish to ignore. "And be thankful. If it were anyone else, you all would have been interrogated at length, after which each of you would risk death. If not, the two of you," she looks at Cyan and Kisra, "would be integrated into our ranks, while the three of you," she nods at Kanyu as well, "would live out your usefulness, assisting in keeping our ranks stocked, and most of the ladies are not gentle." Rosner's face reddens. "But as long as you are my guests," she continues, "nothing shall happen. Step outside my doors unaccompanied by me, and the story may prove different." Kisra looks at her immediately. "What?" Huon answers, "It is not typical for the leader of the Amazonians to have guests, at least not guests she plans to kill later. Our presence puts Seheyan in a particular situation. Letting us extend our stay could risk her life and ours. So I suggest we find what it is we seek and retire away." Following her brother's eyes, Seheyan looks at Rosner with a steady gaze. "What is it you seek?" Rosner thinks of a way to answer while keeping his goal to himself. The thing is, he realizes it will not do him any good. This needs to happen. Now. "I seek audience with Savona." The eyes of the companions look at him puzzled, but Sehayan peers at him with understanding, maybe even a little fear. "Well versed in the old ways, I see. You surprise me." "Sister," Huon says, "what is it you speak of? I have done much research, and I do not recognize this name." A look of amusement appears on the she-orc's face. "Then it appears you have done the wrong research. Why is it you seek Savona?" "It is for us to discuss," Rosner answers readily. She need not know everything. To Rosner's surprise, she nods. "Very well. You may talk with her once she descends. After I perform the rites, she will speak to you through me." Rosner feels the other's eyes bounce back and forth between them, but he pays them no attention. "No, I must speak with her physically." Thinking the conversation done after she speaks, Seheyan stares at him incredulously. For a moment, she seems to be at a loss for words. "You? Her in person? That is not possible. She will never agree. I will never agree. What gives you such cause to request her presence? Do not say a word, brother. I do not know what is worse, thinking you dead or finding you abandoned the trial just to turn up years later. Years after I gave up my search for you and found myself integrated into this group of rebels." Rosner for a moment listens, thankful the words are not directed at him. Then he feels ashamed, because her words inflict pain even into him. But it does not last long. He feels the telltale sign of someone trying to enter his mind. Only now does he realize he no longer has his talisman. But When could this have happened? Perhaps when they first were taken? Rosner. Rosner stiffens. Seheon is in the middle of recounting her ventures, shaping them to appear that each one is Huon's fault. He builds his barrier. Wait. The voice is more distant, but still powerful, and somehow familiar. He lets his barrier down a little, focusing on the voice. Maybe he can keep it out of his mind, but still talk to it? Rosner. Yes? Rosner thinks. The ability to talk in his mind to someone other than himself is still strange to him. It is like a phantom mouth, unnatural, foreign. He can almost feel a surge of excitement. I knew it! Who are you? Why does your voice sound familiar? Rosner feels a sense of displeasure. I suppose I should not be upset. It has been nearly 2 years. Ah, so you do remember. As he listens to the voice, parts of his past take shape in front of him as his brain recalls the voice before his thoughts do. He runs around the farm, playing with Astra and Kadorik. They look young. Rosner remembers moments like those. Have they really witnessed 4 of Mars's reigns since then? It is strange to think back on things like this. He feels a tear try to form as he looks at his siblings through younger eyes, but pushes it away. The scene gradually shifts, and Rosner stands before his target in the woods, about to draw his last arrow when a gentle hand outlines his bare shoulder blades. Sindra. He has not thought about her since Lebem. Now those feelings he had for her rekindle. The memory is silent, but he recalls their conversation. Strange how that works. Then he stands alone, overlooking the crater of the Weeping Castle left behind as it plummeted into the forgotten sea. He watches Kadorik tries desperately to pry his hand from the dragon egg, the strange symbol flowing across its surface. 2 palfreys stand before them, arguing before one disappears, leaving only the robe behind. Then they file into the barn, where the horses seem to bow to palfrey. Their discussion is muted. Asra collapses. The old man marches back out the barn doors. When he returns, he has something in his arms. Where are you? Praying. Rosner stands so fast the chair falls over. Everyone has their attention on him, but he hardly notices. He is already striding towards the door. They all call after him, Seheon more demanding than the rest. Just before he reaches the door, he hears the sound of pursuit as chairs fall and footsteps thud against the ground. Out the door and down the hall he runs. He sprints by several open doors, some of which have startled patrons within. Some add to the pounding feet behind him. At the entrance just ahead, a guard walks in, attentive of the growing noise. She spots Rosner, takes note of the crowd behind him, and calls him to stop. He does nothing of the sort. The guard swiftly removes her blade from her side, but Rosner bats it away and pushes past her. Outside, the world is innocent of the knowledge of frustration and anger within. Rosner stumbles up the path, surprising a woman and child walking past. The light from Savona has turned everything golden red while she hovers near the horizon. Rosner sprints to the temple. Shouts follow him up the path. An arrow whizzes past, slicing his leggings. He presses on. A couple pair of feet close the distance. He sidesteps, and a body flies past him as he shrugs off the grapple of another. Hardly 2 strides from the door, several bodies plow into him, knocking him to the ground. From here, Rosner is manhandled, turned so his back is to the temple doors, and shoved to his knees. Someone behind him whispers in his ears, I like it rough too. A low moan escapes Rosner's lips. Of course, it has to be her. It also explains the brief hand below his waist in the struggle. He looks out before him. Half a dozen archers have arrows trained on Rosner. Another dozen more have blades in hand, eyeing the rest of the party. Seheon stares at him, furious. Kisra looks shocked. Cyan and Hyun are appalled. Kanyu is still sleeping in the room they left behind. I have half a mind to end all of you and be done with it, Seheon exclaims. Explain yourself. I was told to come here, Rosner offers. Obviously, by the way her face contorts, she is not satisfied. Just now, she demands. By whom? Behind Rosner, the doors creak open. The archers react to the newcomer, but their bows quickly slacken. One lets their fingers slip and the arrow strikes a pillar, shattering the wooden shaft. Everyone's previous emotions are replaced with fear, unblinking, paralyzing fear. Long nails, almost like daggers, click against the stone floor. The woman holding Rosner falls prone to his side, staring hauntedly behind him. Accompanying the clicking nails is a pair of soft, padded feet, almost soundless. A voice then rings out, gentle but firm. A voice he is ashamed to have believed he would never hear again. I requested his presence. Rosner turns finally and peers up at his best friend, though he will never readily admit it. Standing before him, dragging at her side, in tanned leather armor, is his sister, Asra. Before he can say anything, abrupt movement behind him steals his attention. Rosner only looks over his shoulder, but after seeing what lay before him, his entire body turns. Every Amazonian has fallen prostrate, even Seheon, who has dropped to one knee, head bowed. The others are still immobilized in fear. Seheon, leader of the Amazonians, Asura addresses the orc gently. I would request the company of your guests. Facing the ground, Seheon answers, Of course, Drakun Ier. Her voice is tense, making Rosner think this is more of a formality than actual requesting of permission. Asra was going to talk with them whether Seheon approved or not. The orc barks an order to the rest and they all retreat, never once looking at anyone but the dragon. Asra waves them inside, although to say such is a loose term. The entire back wall is missing and instead opens up to an endless watery expansion. In the center of the room is a statue of a beautiful woman standing proud with a large staff in hand. The craftsmanship makes the stone appear lifelike. The dragon, Rosner racks his brain trying to remember her name, takes up a large portion of one side of the temple. He regards her for a moment, and for a brief second thinks she smiles at him. Several years ago, she would hardly take up a corner of it. It is crazy for him to believe this creature is so big now. He has a feeling she is not done growing. The last rays of light reflect off the dragon's red scales, emphasizing their bloody color, her gentle movements making it appear as if actual blood flows over her body. The rest of the room is bright and lively, since Savona is centered directly in the opening. The only shadows belonging to the living and the statue, which stretches along the floor and up against the closing doors. Asra walks away from them and towards her brother. It is not long before they embrace each other. Neither one speaks. Rosner hears his sister try to hold back tears. Someone clears their throat. It is Kisra. Can either one of you explain what is going on? Asra and Rosner part. Kisra obviously addressed them, but her attention, like the others, is on the dragon. Next to him, Astra smiles. This is Strongheart. As if to emphasize the introduction, Astra walks over to the dragon. She smiles up at the creature, who puffs out smoke from her nostrils in return. To the others, Astra may look happy, but Rosnan knows her. It may have been years since they have seen each other, but he knows her. That smile has a heavy weight. She and I are one, bonded by an ancient agreement. Huon takes a couple careful steps forward, his eyes never leaving Strongheart. And how, may I ask, do you know each other? Asra looks sharply at Rosner. You did not tell them about me. When Rosner fails to offer anything, she directs her attention to the group. I am Asra. I am Rosner's sister. A sigh escapes Kisra. Rosner glances in her direction, and she turns a shade of red. Rosner ignores her and asks what has been on his mind ever since they separated. What have you been up to? His sister recounts her story of escaping south to the far reaches of the Dorpen woods, mostly traveling under the cover of night. She was captured repeatedly by various parties, all of whom burned. Strongheart rumbles at this, satisfied of the outcome. Cyan asked how she was captured with the dragon, and Astra explains that they slept separately, fearful of what a passerby may think. If a dragon attacks and she escapes, those that live will think nothing of it. But eventually stories passed around, and the people grew suspicious. Her last capture was a trap for the dragon. Her captors had several bows, even more crossbows, weighted nets, and an assortment of other tools. All proved useless in the end, but it was hard won. Afterwards, they pushed east. Eventually, the two came across a group of Amazonians plotting kidnappings around a small fire far from civilization. At least Asra did. Strongheart kept her distance, as usual. The two groups were immediately suspicious of each other, but the Amazonians shared some food with her nonetheless. When Asra departed, apparently two followed her to a shallow cave that could not quite fit Strongheart. After watching them interact, the Amazonians emerged. Of course, Asra, thanks to Strongheart, knew they were there and did not seem at all surprised to see them. They questioned her, and she in turn questioned them. Soon they came to an agreement. Upon their departure, the two Amazonians gave the dragon a deep bow. Later that day, Asra and Strongheart joined them. When the two arrived, they were greeted with several more deep bows. The eldest of the group prostrated herself. As one, they began their journey further east until finally they arrived here. I've been here a couple cycles, Asra concludes, but ever since we arrived, we have been revered. She glances at the red dragon, then amends her statement. She has been revered. They tolerate me. Rosner cannot help but smile. He has his sister back. He catches sight of the dying light, and his smile disappears. We need Sehean in the temple. He's not sure what to do afterwards, since she cannot help him meet Savona in person, but she knows the most, and he does not want to wait another day. Cyan leaves to fetch the Amazonian leader. Asra now looks at her brother, confused. What do you need Sehean for? And now that I think of it, what are you doing here at all? Perhaps we can discuss my wanderings later, Rosner offers. But right now, before the light runs out, I need to have Sehean here so I can speak with the life-giver. You mean Sovonya? Rosner nods to Strongheart. Yes. Does Asra know? Not yet. Cyan returns to the group moments later. Sehean will be here shortly, she reports, adding softly, she is all but happy. The swiftness surprises Rosner, but he supposes if a strange group of individuals wandered to town and one just happens to know a dragon, a species so rare many consider them extinct or never having existed at all, then he would stay close in case something happens. In a matter of moments, the orc enters the temple, gives a deep bow to Strongheart, and ultimately ignores everyone else. She walks up to Rosner, irritated. Through gritted teeth, she asks, "What is it you seek from me?" She tries to hold her composure, but falters in her fury. Rosner repeats what he told her earlier. "I seek audience with Savona." "The audience you seek is not possible," she states. Then her face eases. "What do you mean?" Her eyes drift behind him. He knows that far-off look. Strongheart speaks with her. "No, I have never... Are you sure?" "Of course. Forgive me." She turns her attention back to Rosner and says, "Follow." The two walk to stand in front of the statue, where she instructs him to place a hand on it. She does the same. Then she grabs his free hand, none too gently, saying, "I entertain the dragon's request, not yours." Then she begins muttering in a strange language. "Prepare yourself." A fraction of a second later, Rosner feels his soul launch from his body and into the sky. Everything around him blurs together until it is one large, white expanse. He feels Sehean's hand, but she is nowhere to be seen. "Who are you that you seek audience with me of this nature?" The voice is female, strong and commanding, yet gentle. Around him things start to take shape. Thin marble pillars stretch infinitely upward, patterned between solid white and plated gold. The floor is made of massive stone blocks, polished smooth. The walls are further away than in any building he has seen, making the room feel more like a cavern. Before him, seated on a throne several tiers up, is a statue in the temple, in the flesh. Overcome with a strange sense of awe, Rosner falls to his knees and bows his head. "Unless I am misled," Rosner announces, unsure of where this formality is coming from, "you are the great goddess Savona, the one who grants us light upon Omnimentus." "I am who you refer as Savona," the goddess answers. "How is it you have come of this name, when the rest of those call me Life-Giver?" She says the other name with a hint of a sneer. Head bowed, Rosner answers, "My coming of your name also plays into the reason I present myself before you." Feeling his strength gather, he stands. "I have traveled countless distances and have spoken with beings I thought dead or to not exist at all. Somehow, I believe I have caused a series of chain events that began near a fountain in my home village. My brother was bound to a dragon by someone we later learned to be one of Issander's." "Where is this village?" Savona cuts in. As Rosner speaks, she seems disinterested, but now she leans forward slightly, her back barely leaning away from the backrest. Caught off guard, Rosner stares at her. I believe... What you believe matters little right now." Rosner bites his tongue but obliges. "Ticthrim," he says, "on the southern coast of what we call the Forgotten Sea." "The plains of Panthamor," the goddess mumbles. For a brief second, her face contorts as she scowls. "The betrayal of Sun." but her composure returns after. These chain of events you speak of started beyond the fountain, Rosner of Ticthrim. You began this journey the moment you stepped into the sanctuary and looked upon the realm of Sais itself. Rosner, who stumbled over the fact Savonia knows his name, doubles over when she mentions the sanctuary. That was a dream. Do you truly believe that? The goddess seems amused now. The fact you found it I might find strange. I watched you then. I almost intervened when the shade paralyzed you. But I felt another presence, one I had not felt for so long. Yet it was different than before, lacking the malice that raged within it in the past. So I waited. Sure enough, when the shade finished its chant, a flash of light appeared. The shade was vaporized, at least most of it. A small piece managed to cling to your soul. Replace part of it, actually. Rosner shakes his head, struggling to understand her words. Are you saying all of this was bound to happen? The possibilities were there, she answers. Though who set this in motion, if anyone ever did, even I would not be able to guess. So you have been watching me? For a while, yes, but on occasion I would lose your whereabouts. And the whispers? No, Savona stops herself and stares at Rosner. It seems she thought his mind was going elsewhere. What whispers? The ones outside the castle, Rosner prompts. The one that led me to cut my leg on the fountain. A strange glow came from within the hood of the statue. A look of concern passes over her face for the briefest moment. Then it is stoic again. I know nothing of which you speak. Though inclined to believe her, Rosner hesitates before moving on. So, if you have been watching me, you know why I am here. She nods. You seek the master elixir, the dragon's tear, in hopes to save your brother from the influence of Asander. You have already received the tear from Perelios, and now seek the second half of the elixir. She then inclines her head to Rosner's left. Your request is granted. The air to his left condenses until a stone podium appears with an overturned glass bowl. Inside is a quart glass vial. He walks over to it and examines the contents. There's a small amount of liquid inside. Rosner looks back to Savona questioningly. Just like that? You expect something else? Savona asks. Rosner shrugs. Well, I was told you would not be willing to give it up easily. It depends solely on your definition of easily, Savona says, smiling. It unnerves him. I heard what you had to say. I have watched you on occasion since the sanctuary. I know the major players you have met in this convoluted story. And based on what I know, it will serve everyone well with this in your possession, but only your possession. Let this fall into another's hands, and I will visit you personally and wipe you from existence. The subtle threat at the end sends chills down Rosner's spine. He does not care for anything she states, save that she is giving him the vial. But he would rather not be threatened by a goddess. So, not to irritate her more than he has, Rosner awkwardly removes the bowl and grabs the vial. I do have one question, though, he says as he pockets the vial. The Master Elixir is also called the Dragon's Tear, not a Dragon's Tear, referring to a specific dragon, one of which I do not seem to be familiar with. What is your question? Savona inserts when Rosner pauses. Flustered, Rosner finishes by saying, "When Pirellios gave me the vial, I watched the tear fall from his cheek, but he was not a dragon. We were also the only two in the room. How did you know he gave me the tear?" She smiles knowingly. "Because you would not be here if he had not done so. As for the tear's origin, your sight has betrayed you. Goodbye, Rosner." The scene shifts before him, and everything blends to a solid white. Then he falls and falls. He blinks, and he is back in the temple, holding hands with Seihayan, who blinks reality back into focus. When she comes to, she rips her hand from his. "Well?" she demands. Rosner looks around. Does not seem much has changed. "How long were we gone?" Cyan shrugs. "A matter of seconds, I suppose." "What happened?" Huan asks, a little more concerned than his sister. Rosner swallows. "Well, I met the goddess, and she threatened to wipe me from existence."